Welcome back to Mass Effect. JC here. And once again, more Codex time. There's some blinking ones in here, which means these are voiced ones. Yeah, it's become pretty apparent by this point that I don't know what setting this voice uses, or whether it uses the normal dialogue slider, but it's just that much quieter than everything else. I don't know, so what I'll do is I'll shut up and I won't do any reactions during this, so you can actually turn it up and listen to him without your ears being blasted off by me making silly comments. I'll start talking again when we get to the secondary part, okay? It's all good now.
Faster than light drive, Sovereign is the flagship of the rogue Spectre's Saren. An enormous dreadnought larger than any other ship in any known fleet, it is crewed with both Geth and Krogan. At 2 kilometers long, its spinal-mounted main gun is likely capable of penetrating another dreadnought's kinetic barriers with a single shot. How Saren acquired this incredible warship is unknown. The prevailing opinion is that Sovereign is a Geth construct, while others believe it is a Prothean relic. Its design, however, hints at a more alien and mysterious origin. The attack on Eden Prime demonstrated Sovereign's ability to generate mass effect fields powerful enough to land on a planetary surface. This implies it has a massive Element Zero core and the ability to generate staggering amounts of power. Ship mobility dominates space combat. The primary objective is to align the mass accelerator along the bow with the opposing vessel's broadside. Battles typically play out as artillery duels, fought at ranges measured in thousands of kilometers, though assaults through defended mass relays often occur at knife fight ranges, as close as a few dozen kilometers. Most ship-to-ship engagements are skirmishes between patrol vessels of cruiser weight and below, with dreadnoughts and carriers only deployed in full-scale fleet actions. Battles in open space are short and often inconclusive, as the weaker opponent typically disengages. Once a ship enters FTL flight, the combat is effectively over. There are no sensors capable of tracking them, or weapons capable of damaging them. The only way to guarantee an enemy will stand and fight is to attack a location they have a vested interest in, such as a settled world or a strategically important mass relay. Biotic, a virtual intelligence, is an advanced form of user interface software. VIs use a variety of methods to simulate natural conversation, including an audio interface and an avatar personality to interact with. Although a VI can provide a convincing emulation of sentience, they are not self-aware, nor can they learn or take independent action. VIs are used as operating systems on commercial and home computers. Minimal VI agents are also available. Agents are compact and specialized. Some serve as personal secretaries, filtering calls and scheduling meetings based on user-defined priorities. Others are advanced search engines, propagating themselves across the extranet to collate user-requested data. Commercial VIs in a variety of stock personalities are available at any software retailer. Boutique firms and hobbyists also build unique VIs to personal specification. Although software emulation of living personalities is illegal, reconstructions of famous historical figures are common.
Right, there we go. Oh, it's blinking. So we've got one here. And I assume it was Sorry, military doctrine? It was blinking, and I think we did the League of One and the Unification War, so it must be the military doctrine. Right. The Asari military resembles a collection of tribal warrior bands with no national structure. Yeah. Okay, a bit weird. Each community organises its own unit as the locals see fit, and elect a leader to command them. Units from populous cities are large and well equipped, while those from farm villages may be only a few women and with small arms. There is no uniform. Everyone wears what they like. The Asari military is not an irregular militia. However, those who serve are full-time professionals. Oh, right. That's what I mean. It's not a sort of a militia that pops up when needed and then goes back to normal. No, they're full-time professionals. They just give zero shits about uniform. Probably rules. Right. The average Asari huntress is in the maiden stage of her life and has devoted 20 to 30 years of studying the martial arts. In this time period, that would be shooting stuff. Asari choose to be warriors at a young age, and their education from that point is dedicated to sharpening the mind and body for that sole purpose. When they retire, they possess an alarming proficiency for killing. A bit like 40k Eldar, who, once they've chosen a path, they focus on that. But only for a certain amount of time, then they cycle into another aspect. But dedication, you see. It's what happens when you have a long lifespan. Huntresses fight individually or in pairs, depending on the tactics preferred in their town. One-on-one, a huntress is practically unbeatable, possessing profound tactical insight and hunter's eye. Tactical insight, a hunter's eye, and a dancer's grace and alacrity. Yeah, talk to Geth Hoppers about that. They'd make you look silly. Lack of biotic talent excludes a young Asari from military service. So if you don't have any biotic talent, you can't be in the military. While fluid and mobile, Asari can't stand up in a firestorm the way a Krogan, Taurian or human could. Since their units are small and typically lack heavy armour and support weapons, they are almost incapable of fighting a conventional war, particularly one of a defensive nature. Yes, so Asari units typically undertake special operations missions, like an army of ninja. They are adept at ambush, infiltration, and assassination, demoralizing and defeating their enemies through intense, focused guerrilla strikes. As a popular Turian saying puts it, the Asari are the finest warriors in the galaxy. Unfortunately, there are not many of them. Yeah. What have we got next? Oh god, yeah, we did the armatures, we did the hoppers, Krogan rebellions, quarrying. Oh, this is as far as we got, wasn't it? This is why it's. Yep, okay. Krogan rebellions. Yeah. After the Ragnar War, the quick breeding Krogans expanded at the expense of their neighbours. Warlords leveraged their veteran soldiers to seize living space, while the council races were still grateful. Over centuries, the Krogan conquered world after world. There was always just one more needed. Oh dear. Just one more block, just one more turn, just one more, you know. It leads to dangerous things. It also leads to not going to sleep anytime. So I got distracted just there. When the council finally demanded withdrawal from the Asari colony of Lucinia? Oh god, I'm not going to pronounce that. Krogan warlord Tredak stormed off the citadel, daring the council to take their worlds back. But the council had taken precautions. The finest STG operators and Asari huntresses had been drafted into a covert observation force. The Office of Special Tactics and Reconnaissance, the Spectres, opened the war with crippling strategic strikes. Krogan planets went dark as computer viruses flooded the extranet. Sabotaged antimatter refineries disappeared in blue-white annihilation. Headquarters stations, oh, why that's plural, shattered into orbit-clogging debris, rammed by pre-placed suicide fighters. Oh. Still, this only delayed the inevitable. The war would have been lost if not for first contact with the Turians, who responded to Krogan threats with a prompt declaration of war. That's the Turians for you. Being on the far side of Krogan space from the Council, the Turians advanced rapidly into the lightly defended Krogan rear areas. The Krogan responded by dropping space stations and asteroids on Turian colonies. 3 worlds were rendered completely uninhabitable. Well, that escalated quickly. This was precisely the wrong approach to take with the Turians. Each is first and foremost a public servant, willing to risk his life to protect his comrades. Rather than increasing public war wariness, Krogan tactics stiffened Turian resolve. The arrival of Turian task forces saved many worlds from the warlords' marauding fleets. But it took deployment of the genophage bioweapon to end the war. There were decades of unrest afterwards. Rogue warlords and holdout groups of insurgents refused to surrender or disappeared into the frontier systems to become pirates. Because Krogan. Basically. Quarians. Economy. Right. The migrant fleet has little economic base, operating in a state of perpetual hand-to-mouth, while Quarian ships include light manufacturing and assembly plants. They lack heavy industries such as refining and shipbuilding. The fleet has tankers for water for purification and oxygen cracking. But the space-intrusive nature of agriculture limits food production. A single disaster could destroy the fragile balance. The Quarians earn income in creative ways. Because the government is obliged to provide food, water, air and medical support for every individual, the Conclave strategically determines the course of the fleet to bring in resources and income. The species who suspects the migrant fleet is heading towards their space often offers a gift of surplus starships, fuel and resource to convince the Conclave to alter course. Sneaky. It's like, by the way, we're heading your way. Oh, a gift. Suddenly we've seen somewhere else. Thank you very much. Moving on. As the fleet passes through a system, swarms of mining vessels work over asteroids for metals and silicous materials, and cometary bodies for water, ice, and organics. Quarian miners are adept at locating and strip mining spaceborne resources. This sparks conflict with corporations already working the system. Large mining concerns spend millions on lobbyists and public relations portraying the Quarians as locusts, devouring the resources of a system before moving on. The greatest asset of the Quarians is their rarefied skills. Most are experienced miners. Due to their life of perpetual salvage and repair, they are skilled engineers and technicians. More than once, the very corporations that lobby against the Quarians have made backroom deals with the fleet, arranging for skilled Quarians to fill space engineering jobs that other species would demand higher wages for. Quarians are widely hated among the working classes. The Quarians are coming to take our jobs, blah blah blah, is the common response to the fleet's approach. They're coming to take our jobs, blah blah blah, but then they'll just be leaving just as soon as they arrive. It looks like they're going to permanently leave the fleet. Quarians' government. Due to the Quarians' precarious existence and a need to enforce strict rationing, government is somewhat autocratic. The migrant fleet's operations are directed by the Admiralty, a board of 5 military officers who are advised by a legislative body called the Conclave. Each vessel in the fleet has the right to send representatives to the Conclave aboard the flagship. The number of representatives is based on crew size. Larger clans with bigger ships and more votes form the core of political blocs. Opposition comes from the Outriders Coalition, which delegates from thousands of smaller ships. Oh, right. Okay. The Admiralty defers to the Conclave's decision in most circumstances. However, if all 5 members agree that the Conclave decision jeopardizes the survival of the fleet, they cannot get the Conclave to address their concerns, they have the right to summarily overturn the legislative decision. After the Admiralty loses this exonerary power, they must resign. If the Admiralty does not step down after using their veto, the rest of the military is obliged to arrest them. Oh! Yes, definitely not scenes of I am the Senate here. Yeah, they took precautions against that kind of bullshit. Each ship captain has authority over his or her vessel, but advised by an elective civilian council. Yep. Just as the Admiralty is advised by the Conclave, this relationship may range from cooperation to polite tolerance to outright hostility. But any captain who overrules his council without good reason is relieved of command by the Admiralty. Don't mess with that. Don't rock the boat. Many Quarian ships are owned by clans who pool their resources to purchase used vessels from private sellers. Large ships are prodigious for big, rich clans, but a small ship means status for a small clan with enough personal wealth to afford a private vessel. Clan vessel captains are not subject to dismissal by the Admiralty. Abusive captains are a family problem if they do not disrupt the operations of the fleet. Basically, yeah, if you're being a problem but you're not being a problem to the whole fleet, yeah, the clan will have to go deal with it. Quarians. Migrant fleet. Migrant fleet is the largest concentration of spacefaring vessels in the galaxy, sprawling across millions of kilometers. It can take days for the entire fleet to pass through a mass relay. Yep, that's a lot of ships. When the Quarians fled their homeworld, the fleet was a motley aggregation of freighters, shuttles, industrial vessels, and the odd warship. After 3 centuries, all have been modified to support larger crews as comfortably as possible. As the Quarians achieved stability, they began weeding out the ships less suitable for long-term habitation, selling them and pooling the money to buy larger and more space-worthy hulls. This process is ongoing as vessels wear out and break down. While some ships enjoy dedicated cabins with full privacy and sanitary facilities, many more are former freighters whose cargo bays and containers are pressurized and divided into family spaces using simple metal cubicle bulkheads. Ah, a flat then, or an apartment block basically. Quarians enliven these astute spaces, or S-tier, piss-poor spaces with colourful quilts and tapestries, which also help muffle sound, soft furnishings. The day-to-day operations of the fleet, traffic control, station keeping, supply distribution, and so on, are under military jurisdiction. Though ship captains have the authority to deviate from their assigned positions and may leave the fleet at any time, they are assumed to do so at their own risk. As the migrant fleet moves around the galaxy, many ships split off to pursue individual goals, returning days or years later. And now for the pilgrimage. Da-da-da. When Quarians of the migrant fleet reach young adulthood, they must leave their birth ship and find a new crew to accept them as permanent residents. To prove themselves, they must recover something of value. This is offered to the prospective captain as proof that they will not be a mere burden to the shoestring resources of the ship. This process is called the pilgrimage. Stripped of ritual. Stripped of ritual, the pilgrimage is merely an attempt to maintain genetic diversity within the small, relatively isolated population bases that make up the migrant fleet. If the young stayed and married within their birth vessel, the risk of inbreeding would increase sharply. True. Quarians are surgically fitted with their various immunity-boosting implants in preparation for leaving on pilgrimage. Right? Having grown up within the sterile, controlled environment of the migrant fleet ships, Quarians have virtually no natural immune system. That's what comes of living in a bubble. Needs must, I guess. We're moving on to a whole brand new section now, with 5 minutes left. Never mind. 1, 2, 3, 4. Only 5 more categories. Should be able to finish this by the end of the series. And we'll hope so. Oh, come off it. Okay. Right. Citadel conventions. Yeah, these conventions. Right. These diplomatic talks occurred in the wake of the Krogan Rebellion as a response to the destruction of the conflict and the attempt to distance the Council from the brutal Krogan warfare. The conventions regulate the use of weapons of mass destructions. A WMD causes environmental alteration to a world. A bomb that produces a large crater is not considered a WMD. A bomb that causes a nuclear winter is. So, big enough to destroy something, not big enough to throw too much stuff into the atmosphere. Use of WMD is forbidden on garden worlds like Earth. Garden worlds, right? With ecospheres that can readily support a population. If a habitable world is destroyed, it will not be replaced for millions of years. It will not be replaced for millions of years. Conventions do not forbid the use of WMDs on hostile worlds or in sealed space station environments. Many militaries continue to develop and maintain stockpiles. So basically, if it's a life-supporting world, don't blow it up with WMDs. But if it's an artificial environment or an environment that can't normally support it, all bets are off. Go ham. Lovely. The conventions graded weapons of mass destruction into tiers of concern. Tier 1 is the greatest threat to galactic peace. Tier 1, large kinetic impactors such as asteroid drops or deorbiting space stations. Effectively free and available in any system in the form of debris left over from planetary accretion. Kinetic impactors are the weapon of choice of terrorists and third galaxy nations. Tier 2, uncontrolled self-replicating weapons such as nanotechnology, viral or bacterial organisms. Von Neumann devices. Is that like a perpetual motion thing? I'm not sure. And destructive computer viruses. These weapons can lie dormant for millennia, waiting for a careless visitor to carry them on to another world. Self-replicating weapons, Grey Goo, Horizon Zero Dawn, those kind of things. Not nice. Tier 3, a large energy burst weapon, such as nuclear or antimatter warhead. Tier 4, alien species deliberately introduced to crowd out native forms necessary for the health of an ecosystem. Ecological tampering can take years to bear fruit, making it difficult to prove. And with that, we've gotten to the end of this section of JC Tries to Read Things. We've still got a lot left to go. But, yes. Thank you for watching. Until next time. This is JC. out.